Henrik Ibsen's A Doll's House is one of the most groundbreaking plays in modern drama, challenging 19th-century conventions of gender, marriage, and social morality. At its center stands Nora Helmer, a seemingly naive and cheerful housewife who undergoes a profound transformation from subservience to self-awareness. Through Nora, Ibsen constructs not only a profoundly human portrait of personal awakening but also a symbolic critique of patriarchal society. Her journey from domestic confinement to individual freedom redefined the portrayal of women on stage and continues to resonate as a study of identity, autonomy, and societal expectation. Role in the narrative. At the beginning of A Doll's House, Nora appears to embody the ideal 19th-century bourgeois wife. She is playful, affectionate, and even childlike, calling her husband Torvald with devotion and submitting to his pet names, such as Little Skylark or Squirrel. Her life seems idyllic. She has a comfortable home, a devoted husband, and 3 children. Yet, beneath this domestic harmony lies deception and repression. Nora has secretly borrowed money to save Torvald's life, forging her father's signature to secure the loan. Her desperate act, motivated by love and necessity, propels the narrative and reveals the contradictions between societal laws and moral conscience. Nora's secret becomes the central dramatic tension of the play. Her interactions with characters such as Krogstad, who threatens to expose her, and Mrs. Linda, who serves as a moral mirror, highlight the pressures and hypocrisies of a world that values appearances over truth. As the plot unfolds, Nora's cheerful facade deteriorates under the weight of blackmail and guilt. The final confrontation with Torvald, when he discovers the forgery and reacts with outrage rather than gratitude, becomes the catalyst for her self-realization. In this climactic moment, the woman who once seemed frivolous recognizes the profound inequality of her marriage and decides to leave her husband and children to find her own identity. In narrative terms, Nora functions as the dramatic center and moral axis of A Doll's House. Every event, revelation, and transformation revolves around her. Her evolution from ignorance to enlightenment constitutes the play's structural and emotional arc. Ibsen builds her journey through naturalistic dialogue and psychological realism, making her awakening both inevitable and shocking. By the end, Nora's decision to slam the door and walk out is not merely a personal rebellion but the dramatic resolution of the play's thematic tensions. The conflict between duty and desire, appearance and truth, self and society. Symbolic significance. Beyond her role in the plot, Nora Helmer functions as a symbol of womanhood, confinement, and emancipation. The title A Doll's House itself serves as a metaphor for the artificial domestic environment in which Nora lives, a miniature world constructed by societal expectations and male authority. Within this metaphor, Nora is both the doll and the inhabitant of a dollhouse, manipulated and infantilized by her husband and by the broader social norms that dictate her behavior. Throughout the play, Nora's actions and possessions carry symbolic weight. Her macaroons, for instance, are a recurring motif of rebellion. She eats them secretly despite Torvald's prohibition. This small act reveals both her defiance and her lack of genuine autonomy. Her forgery, while legally a crime, symbolizes moral courage and self-reliance. It shows her capacity for agency in a world that denies women economic independence. Similarly, the Tarantella dance, which she performs to distract Torvald from reading Krogstad's letter, encapsulates her desperate attempt to maintain an illusion while hiding her turmoil. Her frenzied dancing becomes a physical manifestation of her psychological imprisonment. The most potent symbol of all, however, is the door, the one Nora closes behind her at the play's end. The door slam heard around the world, as critics later called it, became a metaphor for the breaking of patriarchal barriers. It marks the boundary between dependence and self-determination, between the domestic sphere and the larger world of human freedom. Through this act, Nora transforms from a symbol to a subject, from an object of others' control to an autonomous being. Broader implications. Nora Helmer's story extends far beyond the domestic sphere. Her awakening embodies the larger struggle for women's emancipation and the modern individual's quest for authenticity. In the late 19th century, when women were legally and socially subordinate to men, Nora's departure was revolutionary. Ibsen insisted that he did not write the play as a feminist tract, but as a portrayal of human freedom. Yet it is impossible to separate Nora's personal awakening from the gendered structures that constrain her. Her rebellion exposes the moral hypocrisy of a society that prizes female purity but denies women agency and education. Philosophically, Nora represents the existential individual who must define herself through conscious choice. By renouncing the roles imposed on her, she embodies the modern idea that identity is not inherited but constructed through self-determination. The play thus questions not only gender norms but also broader assumptions about morality, marriage, and the nature of truth. In a historical sense, A Doll's House marked a decisive break from romantic idealism and ushered in modern realism. Nora's final act symbolizes the collapse of illusion, the rejection of sentimental ideals of love, duty, and domestic bliss. Ibsen's realism exposes the power dynamics and psychological repression hidden beneath everyday respectability. Nora becomes a mirror for the audience, forcing them to confront uncomfortable questions. What is the cost of conformity? Can love survive without equality? What does it mean to be truly free? Morally, Nora's decision to leave her children has been a source of controversy since the play's premiere. Yet Ibsen does not present it as an act of selfishness but as an ethical imperative. Nora realizes she cannot teach her children truth and independence if she herself remains ignorant and submissive. Her departure, then, is both tragic and redemptive, a necessary step toward moral and intellectual maturity. Conclusion. Nora Helmer's character stands at the intersection of the personal and the political, the domestic and the universal. Through her, Henrik Ibsen revolutionized not only the theater but also the moral consciousness of modern society. In A Doll's House, Nora's transformation from doll to self-aware individual dramatizes the essential conflict between societal expectation and personal freedom. Her act of leaving, simultaneously defiant and redemptive, remains one of the most powerful gestures in literature, symbolizing the eternal quest for authenticity. Nora's journey reminds us that liberation begins with the courage to question, to speak, and to step beyond the door of illusion into the unknown realm of the self.